This is culture at large.
The first time that you really got into songs, you were listening to music. There was a point for me when I was like a very young child that I was like maybe 6 years old. And I was like, wow, so like the Bengals make these songs that are like good. Like there's a lot of songs that exist, but there's some songs that like paint above the curve and, you know, like go beyond the scope. And if you could play initially, I wanted to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. Like I heard Manic Monday by the Bengals when I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I'm like, okay. Right, so like, I'm like young, and there's Susanna Hoffs in the Bengals, by the way, and it walk like an Egyptian video, because that was great too.
Hot.
So there's this whole thing of like, it's a song that is simple, like I understood as a child. Then my mom would hear it in the car and she's like, oh, I get that. 6 a.m., dream, work. And then it's like lyrical and easy to grab and all of that. And it kind of like started me along the path. It's like, then like by the couple of years after that, it was like Keith Whitley became a person in my life and George Jones became a person in my life and Prince and Michael Jackson. Prince co-wrote that song. So like I was just like, unbelievable. Like songwriting is it. Like songs that are like, that open your mind and make you think differently about the world. So like for you two, what were those songs, what were those moments when you're like, okay, so like there's a lot of songs, but there's some songs that, like I said, you know, paint above the curve.
Shoot, that's a good question. I think you're right. It's not just like one song. It's probably a series of songs. For me, I grew up listening to a lot of classical music. My granddad was very into classical music, and really didn't listen to a lot outside of like that and like religious music probably until I was like 10, and I remember hearing Hold the Line by Toto on the radio. I was like, whoa, that blew my mind. I was like, that was amazing. My mom's like, I'll take credit for that. And so, yeah, I remember that being a really cool song for me. And then, you know, I remember when I was like 12, maybe a little bit older, I heard Live Like You Were Dying by Tim McGraw, and I was like, and I still think, I was like, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. I didn't know I was just like, hearing the best song ever that young, I guess. But
that must be weird, because you worked with Missy Gallimore, who,
yeah, of course.
Byron Gallimore, who produced that song, right?
Yeah, Missy.
It has to be wild.
Yeah, no, it's so cool now to get to hear the stories behind all my favorite Tim McGraw songs. They are like, you know, family to him, and Missy A&R that song, and she's such a legend for that. And then I think my next kind of, or maybe my last one, is I got this book on the Beatles called The Beatles, and written by Bob Spitz. And yeah, and I didn't really know what songwriting was really. I didn't know, you know, how it came to be. And the book goes in such detail about how they wrote their songs and about co-writing, which I didn't know was a thing. And it talks about, you know, Paul McCartney and John Lennon co-writing all these songs, and I just remember hearing Hey Jude and being like, that's the best song I've ever heard. It blew my mind. And yeah, I went and saw Paul McCartney a couple years ago, and when that song came on, I just started crying. I was like, this is incredible. And then if I could get one more, I guess Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, I was like, that's the best song ever too. So maybe a combination of those 4 songs.
I love that. Great answer.
What's up with you?
Well, it's funny. I was just listening to how you were raised, and I'm like, oh, that's a kind of an interesting point. I was raised on religious music as well, and the radio kind of wasn't allowed.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind
Only
of
classic rock, I guess, once you're 10.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about you, so I'm fascinated to hear this answer. Like,
well, I had a tape deck, and it was shaped like a pill. And does anyone remember this particular little boom box? It was shaped like a pill, and there was 2 tapes in it, and one you could double tap record. Anyone under the age of 40 is like, what in the literal crap are you
I
talking
have
about?
no idea what you're talking about right now.
pause tapes were real.
It's a big deal, so you could.
Pause tapes.
Pause, man. You push the pause button down. You keep it depressed, and then when you hear something on the radio that you like, you hit the pause button, and you're able to record whether it's on the radio.
the radio. So let me
This is
walk
like
that
so
through.
old it sounds new.
But it's real. But I remember using it was like a 2-finger situation where you couldn't just press record, you had to press play and record at the same time. And it was the first time I'd ever listened to the radio like with any sense of like attention. And I was hearing the difference between religious music and praise music and
Secular music.
Scary. And the first song that I remember recording was called Where Does My Heart Beat Now, Celine Dion. It was her first single. Very few people know this song. It was long before, like, you know, The Boat.
Right. The Boat.
Yeah, long before The Boat. But it was so compelling to me, and I remember, like, I missed the intro, and I was pissed. Because, like, you have to record, you have to catch it, like, you know, at this moment.
Because sometimes the radio DJ would speak over the intro and you'd be like,
It pissed me off. Cut it out, let me get that song, let me get that intro, and then the outro, same feeling.
Right.
But that was like the first time I had heard, like, secular music and felt something deeper from music. Now, also, to your Beatles point, that was the one exception in my house. Well, no, there were two. I could listen to the Beatles and Steely Dan. So I do feel like my brain, yeah, baby, my brain definitely understood complex music because of the Beatles and Steely Dan. I thought that was standard.
Yeah.
So listening to simplistic, it's terrible in a way, because it's like, it would be so insulting to the writers of the songs because they're not simple, but in comparison to the Beatles, they actually really are. Like, pop music is meant to be kind of delivered in this simplistic, on a plate, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I love this. So that was the first song. Then Mr. Big's To Be With You was a big deal to me. Big deal to me.
big deal to me too.
Big deal to me. Like, this was like a guy gave me that song on a tape. And of course I was sure it meant the thing I wanted it to mean. It didn't. It didn't mean that at all. He didn't want to be with me at all. He just gave me that song. But that was a big deal. And so those songs were evidence that music could be A, simple, and B, for everyone. Whereas the music that I was kind of force-fed was complex and for a very few. And so I think that my rebellion in my sort of proselytizing little family was pop music. Like, that felt rebellious. You know, like, Metallica feels rebellious to someone. Celine Dion was weirdly my rebellion.
Are you pointing to someone in specific? It doesn't seem like you, Metallica. It is.
It was the hair. It just drew me in. Just the hair.
The other question then comes with words. So songs or songwriters especially use words to write songs. And words have meaning. I preach this to people all the time, and I think it's one of the most important things about songwriting is that when you master vocabulary and discernment, I think that changes the entire vein of what you do as a songwriter. When you understand that there's like 6 words for sad, but one of them works in a 3-minute song. And sometimes one of them works in a 3-minute song where you can repeat it multiple times and it achieves a greater effect. So thoughts about like understanding words and discernment, because I think that's a big part of the thing that we don't talk about enough.
I felt like that was the ACT test problem.
You're welcome.
You have sad. It can be said 6 ways in a 3-minute song, but you can't repeat it.
Go.
Go. Like, how many times should you say sad in a song? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious, Laura. Like, lyrics were a later experience for me. Like, so far as like, I felt like I was stronger melodically than I was lyrically, and I think that's pretty common. Was it the same for you as well?
I think I went in concept first. That was definitely, and I actually just mentioned this on my podcast, but the having to break my weird was a very big deal in the beginning of my career, because I was like more of a words person, but my thoughts were too weird for the genre at the time, so I really had to go like, scale it back. Like, simplify, like go get into a male brain and try to say it from a different, like not a weird New Yorker girl perspective, like, and that, so that's how.
Yeah,
that's
I
how
do feel like
started.
I do feel like you almost become like an actor in a way, or like you're impersonating somebody. You know, sometimes when you're writing lyrics, especially for an artist, you're trying to get in their head and say what they want to say in an interesting way. I think, yeah, I remember when I moved to Nashville, I remember printing out lyrics of every song that was on the radio, and I made a 3-ring binder. And every night I would go through and like study the lyrics, because I was like, I don't know how to get better lyrics. I'm just gonna, you know, print every lyric out in the world and try to figure out what they're doing. I always liked rhyming, but I think one thing I discovered was it's saying something simple in a way, and simply, but in a way that hasn't been said before. It's kind of a trick.
Challenging.
Super challenging.
I think there was a time where recycling was a little bit more like okay.
Right.
Like 10 years ago, I want to say when we both kind of started out, like being same was compelling. Just give me that same stuff. I want that same stuff with like a little bit of a variable.
Yeah.
But I think the season has just changed.
Yeah, for sure. But what is cool about Nashville and country music, I think, in particular, is that, you know, you can't get away with not caring about the lyric. Like the
Thank
lyric
God.
is so important here, and that's what I love about country music
Yeah.
so much, is that you know, not saying that other genres you necessarily can, but definitely it's just not acceptable in country music. Like, you have to write the full song. You cannot write 50% of the song. You have to write 100% of the song.
And I think thanks to Taylor Swift, that's now important in every genre. I
yeah.
feel like she's
Culture at Large is recorded at Anzie Blue, Nashville's only woman-owned music venue. Co-helmed by music industry dealmaker Marcy Allen Van Mole and Derek Van Mole, Anzie Blue has hosted hundreds of events since opening its doors to music in March 2023. Anzie Blue is nestled in the heart of Hillsborough Village, one of Nashville's most vibrant cultural hubs. It's just across the street from the historic Belcourt Theater, one of the original locations of the Grand Ole Opry. For more information on Anzie Blue, visit www.anzieblue.com.
spread that sort of, you know, the good news of the fact that words matter.
Yeah, she took a lot of the lyricism
Yeah.
and put it into different genres.
Totally.
So when I was young, I won the spelling bee 3 years in a row.
Flex on them, all right.
Let's go.
Well deserved.
These are like childish accomplishments that are being part of this pod, unfortunately.
That's pretty sick.
So sad.
He's so proud.
God. So anyway, so I don't know if it's studying for the spelling bee 1 year and listening to the radio and then hearing Randy Travis say the word exude in a song and being like, wow, he used the spelling bee word in a country song. That just seems weird. But I think that there's something to the fact that it was like one of those things where you're like, okay, cool, like, all right, so collaboration is real. And then you start digging out, and then like the joke is, of course, like, 6 people sit around and write a song for one artist, and that just is weird. And it's like, to me, it's like, at first, you know, when I first started doing the job, I'm like, yeah, there might be something to do that. That seems like weird that 6 people would do the thing. But then it's like, you actually dig in and you learn the people. And it's the people of the song. And it's the personality of the song. And it's the community of that I think is like the most important thing. And I think that's the thing that people don't think about enough. Is like, okay, so like 6 unique personalities. When you get to meet Nashville songwriters, you understand like, everybody's their own personality. Like, Blake Pendergrass is not you. Chase McGill is not you. Jessica Bill is not both of you. Like, but if you put all of you guys together in the same room,
We kill it.
right? You know what I'm saying, right? But it's like,
I want that right.
Yeah.
Put it on the list. That sounds like a class.
right. So if we talk about the idea that like these songs are the composite of the art of the creatives in the room as unique creative people who get to come together and do a thing. I think there's something that needs to be said about that.
Oh, I mean, this town is a co-writing town. One of the very first things I was told when I was thinking about coming here was if you don't enjoy co-writing, then Nashville's not for you. And I didn't know what that meant at the time because I had never done it before. And then I got in my little car and I came down here and I co-wrote my first song and I was like, oh, that. You mean the vulnerability of telling someone something that you just thought of and it might suck. Like that's terrifying. I love it. You know what I mean? Like I loved the invigoration of it, and it excited me being alone and writing, which I really admire people who do that. I personally don't really, it doesn't do anything for me. That like human experiment of co-writing is like one of the most charmed things in the world. I wish everyone could do it. Do you know what we were just saying? I mean, I think we say this thousands of times a day, but it is the luckiest job in the whole world to get to do this job. It's such a neat thing to have any degree of success with it. It's so fun because you're experiencing human compromising and vulnerability and, you know, balancing things in the room like egos and knowing what to say when someone is feeling insecure and like lifting them up, and then knowing what to say when someone's being an asshole, just but without being an asshole. It's like kind of an art form. And so I that to me is like, that's like humaning.
Right.
In the best way, and I'm so lucky I get to do it. And to your point of like a billion people in the room, that is so like just a thing. It sometimes is a part of the writing experience, and I don't write with people I don't like, so if it's 6 people I like, bring it on, you know? If it's one person I like, then we will gladly do a 2-way. Like, It's just really about being with people you like,
Right.
and respect and think are good at this job.
So, thoughts for you on the same thing?
Yeah, it's funny, when I first moved to Nashville, I moved here with my 2 sisters, one of my sisters right there, Jenna, and we had our bluegrass band. We didn't know anything about songwriting, or that even songwriting could be a job, like, I remember we played a show at Granny White Market, gas station on Granny White Pike, and that was like our first show in Nashville, and then Rivers Rutherford, who's like a legendary songwriter, came up to us after we played, and he was like, "Hey, I would love to like write a song with y'all," and we were like so offended because we were like, "We don't need help writing songs." We were like, "Who's this guy? Does he think our song sucks?" Or like, we didn't understand what it was. We're like, "No, thanks, dude." And, thankfully. We went home and I think we Googled him. We're like, "Oh, well, he knows Brad Paisley. We probably should listen to him." And so anyway, thankfully we did call him back, and he was like our first co-write ever. And Rivers taught us a lot about how to co-write and just the community of it. And like Laura said, it's a pretty incredible job to get to hang out with such incredible creative people every day, and to talk about life and just write about life, and create art and create something out of nothing, and to fail 99% of the time, but still come back the next day with a lot of enthusiasm and hope, and yeah, I don't know, it's pretty amazing.
That should say a lot too, right there. It's like the degree of failure that is just comes standard with this job. It's got to be this fun. Like it has to be. For that level of failure to not be, soul crushing, right. Which it is.
No, it can be. No matter what level you are, you still get frustrated sometimes. But yeah, it's a pretty special job.
Right. So you had spoken about your family, and I think that there's something unique about both of you in the sense that you come from family musical backgrounds, and there's
both family bands. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So there's something about empathy that is a part of that, because if you make music with your family, then you have to be almost empathetic, because it's like there's a blood united, blood harmony type thing there that I feel like is part of that. So how does that impact what you do now?
Well, I think both of my sisters wish I had more empathy sometimes. Sometimes I didn't have a lot of empathy. I was like, "No, we can do better. We gotta practice that song again for the wall in our apartment and no one else." No, I learned so much from my sisters. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I wouldn't be, anywhere near where I am without them. They both taught me so much. They're my first co-writers. They're still my most frequent co-writers. And not only, learning from them as co-writers, but I think as women, it's taught me so much about just like you said, empathy. I think that maybe this is like generalization, but I feel like women in general are just like better than men at most things. And one in particular is just like emotions. But one in particular is just like emotions, and a big part of songwriting is tapping into emotions and eliciting emotions. So yeah, that's definitely something I've learned from them. And I've learned from not listening to them just as much as I've learned listening to them sometimes.
Right. Same thing for you, because when I learned about your background, I was like, oh my God, I've listened to her music for a really long time. I had no idea. I was like, whoa, okay, it's amazing.
Well, I was in a creepy family band. You guys were in a cute family band. I was in a creepy one, but it's still true. I actually just listened to this amazing podcast. I listened to this podcast called the Templeton Ideas Podcast, and they talk about these it's amazing, these really broad ideas with scientists and theologians and all this stuff. And the last one that came out is about family, and the woman they were interviewing really, it just said something that blew my mind. I thought it was so interesting about how, basically she was saying, thank God for family, because your friends, you can fire, you know what I mean? You can kind of go like, downgrade, I don't want to. Your family, you're forced to learn how to adjust to people's differences. Like family requires you to stick around to find out what happens after you get past a yucky thing or a disagreement or whatever. And I think that's one thing that family teaches people.
Since 2007, Vinyl Ranch has mashed up classic country and disco nightlife into a new cultural expression for urban cowboys and cowgirls. From parties to apparel, remixes and more, the best of urban cowboy lifestyle from Space City to Music City to New York City and all honky-tonks in between. Long live urban cowboys. www.vinylranch.com.
In general, and I just like the fact that, like, even though my sister is a songwriter as well, a magnificent songwriter, and she and I kind of made it out of a very yucky family. We've had to set boundaries with them, and that's just how that's gone. But the two of us surviving such a thing, and then finding a way to even co-write with each other, like the way you all do, is a miracle. And we know each other, like, I'm sure the way you do, it's like zaps, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I feel like that's serving everyone in the co-writing room to understand what it's like to have a sibling and to work with a sibling. There's a bunch of them in town, you know, the Jenkins brothers, and there's a bunch with, surely the Carpenters.
Yeah. Well, actually, I meant the Mackenzie.
Oh, duh. In my head, I'm like, yeah, the Carpenters. Way back. No, those guys. That's crazy. Those guys too.
Warren Brothers?
Yeah, the Warren Brothers. There's a few others. There aren't very many sisters, so you guys should be like rocking that feeling, because me and my sister are always just like, oh my God, there's so few sisters in the business in this way, like non-performing, which I know you guys are a band, but the fact that you care about this particular thing as much as y'all do, it's kind of a special thing. I don't know, I think it's pretty special. And yeah, I feel like it serves the writing room either way. And I just want to say, having sisters, for the men in all of my favorite co-writers have sisters. There's definitely like an energetic, like peacefulness in the room, and I just say like really great, like safe energy that feels really nice. So like, thank you.
So to all you aspiring co-writers out there, go get a sister.
Or just get close with a girl and let them beat you up.
I want to take you guys back to like 2015. That was the era when Spotify largely really began to push into country music and decided that like country music fans wanted to stream music, which I know seems weird, but that was kind of the thing. It was like indie pop fans want to stream music, then EDM fans want to stream music, then R&B fans want to stream music. Then it was finally like, oh, Nashville would probably want to stream music too. So Spotify largely began this push to like really engage with the Nashville community. And the funny thing about streaming, I feel, is that it plays towards people's desires to want to be open-minded. It's just the natural nature of things. Like I can pick up this phone and I just scroll, and it's like literally the country song is next to the rap song, which is next to the pop song. So if I just hit play, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, cool, I'm into it. And democratization started slowly. Then COVID struck. And funny thing, like COVID was terrible. But I think that for the country community, it served country really well because of what we were talking about. This natural empathy that a decade of songs had, like Dan and Shay's material and Harmony's material and things like that, just really kind of like opened up people to like this empathetic need for caring. And then it just dug down deeper when like death and destruction, devastation, horrible things started happening. And a lot of genres don't have emotional depth. I can say this. All genres used to have emotional depth. But a lot of genres have lost that over the years. It's kind of been parsed away, and money and fame and success have changed the landscape in a lot of ways. But country, uniquely, during COVID, was able to dig really deep and find the like those problematic emotions that people were dealing with, and not feel like overwrought by them and just run away. Like I was playing a house track as I was taking my walk today, and it's like, we lost the ability to dance during COVID, and that was really bad. But then it's like, well, my friends died, and I feel awful, and I'm having issues with dealing with, emotionally re-entering the world. And then there's folks like you two that come into that. And specifically during that era, both of you guys had like a boom in your careers. So I wanted to ask you about the power of being able to deal with heavier emotions and what that allowed for you to do as songwriters. I think the job changes at that point.
Yeah, I got my publishing deal right before COVID started.
Right.
So I really didn't have a choice but to start to try to succeed during COVID because I had to survive. But that is very perceptive. I think the first release I had during COVID was Give Heaven Some Hell by Artie, which was, writing a lot about what is going on, and which is part of the magic, I think, of country music is that we just write real life. And if life is heavy, we write about it being heavy, and if life is a party, we write about the party. And we don't really skip over any parts. There's no, you can't, click to the next song necessarily in life. So, I don't think we skip over anything. And, I don't know if that answers the question exactly, Mara. What do you think?
Oh, I just was thinking, country is such a homey, thing. I feel like Crisis really made country go home to itself, and get countryer, frankly, which was an interesting thing. Is like I didn't come into country with that sort of. That was something I learned how to do.
Right.
But I feel like that whole era was a lot of, politics playing with music and Crisis playing with music and TikTok playing with music. And I'll disagree with that person. Like COVID, we stopped dancing is like so not real. Like I feel like we started dancing in COVID. I feel like that's when all of us were like, hey, Granny, let's learn this, little dance. Like I feel like TikTok literally got us dancing, and I don't think that's a small thing.
Right.
Dancing is biblical. Dancing is like important, and I think we lost the art of that for a long time. And this is more like a country pop, music at large kind of a comment on that. But I think it's really neat that dancing has returned. And in terms of country, I feel like, there's a willingness to say things for different types of writers. And one of the songs that came out of that era for me was called Better Than We Found It with Maren Morris, which we were addressing some really scary things. In fact, when we were writing them down, we were all like, are they gonna let us put this out? Like we were talking about police violence and things that we were scared of, that we were nervous about, and that were oddly controversial when they shouldn't have been. Like just wanting our neighbors to feel safe was like a big part of that song. And I couldn't believe she put it out, I'll be honest, and then it ended up getting nominated for a Grammy, which is amazing. But to your point, like you know, country radio is a moving target. I don't think they were gonna play that song.
Right.
And so that's kind of like where country is an interesting subject for me, because it is the truth. I want it to be the truth.
Right.
I'm here to write that stuff, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it glazes over a little of the truth and kind of avoids certain things, and I wish it wouldn't, because country music to me is about storytelling, and it's why I moved to this town. And every story is worth telling. And you know,
Say that again.
every story is worth telling.
There you go.
And if you're working with somebody who wants to tell a story, and I know you've been in this situation 100 times, we both have, where they want to write something kind of bonkers or scary.
Are you referencing our last record?
It might be. But truly, like when somebody wants to say something out of this world, I feel like I'm your guy, because like I'm not. I think that's. I feel like every subject is worth, you know, putting into melodies and lyrics and stuff. But I dream of a world where, like the Big X record is a great example of the way country and culture at large combined, like turned into one thing, and all of a sudden it represented the entire country in one fell swoop, and who the hell knows how that even came together. It seemed like it was like that, and all of a sudden it's out. And obviously, you know, this guy and sisters, Let's Freaking Go, wrote like the pioneer song for that record, All the Way, by Bailey Zimmerman and Big X, and the rest is history. To me, that's I mean, this is a hot take. It's a medium hot take. But that's country music to me.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing.
So here's the thing. I think that one of the cool parts of the country boom that was almost largely unexpected. Like, it's still unexpected. There are people who are my friends who live on the coast who are like, you really went to Nashville. You really moved from Washington, D.C. You were like coastal and cool and like into cool music, and now you live in Nashville. And I'm like, yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like within the last 6 months, they're all like, so all of our artists
We're moving there now.
are in Nashville,
Yeah.
and we're all coming down. And like, do you mind taking this out? Because we don't know anything about it. And I'm like, well, I'm glad that you want to come. But I'm like, understand that there's something cool about what the moment country had, because so many of country's 100 years old. So all of the tropes in the genre, all of the familiar things that people know country music to be, is the first thing a lot of these artists from other spaces who come into Nashville are like, I want that. Literally that. They can't name it or describe it, but they know it when they hear it or feel it. Feel it especially. And I wanted to jump into something very briefly, or longer, if we want to do, about hip-hop, K-pop, Latin pop, all these folks coming into town who write differently. It's now beats, cadences, flows, these influences that aren't necessarily rhyme schemes or the way that songs felt in generations prior to Nashville. So I wanted to ask about that, especially because I know that like, you know, folks like Joe Roll and folks like Big X and Jessie Murph, and these are all artists who write in a different way, and they're having success doing so. And I just wanted to ask about that and broadening that scope and mixing it with this very almost neo-traditional country thing.
Yeah, man, isn't that a fun question? And it's a fun challenge every day as we get into the room. I think, you know, maybe there are some writers who aspire to just write something that's been written, but I think, at least when I'm speaking for both of us, when we get in the room, we want to create something. We want to be pioneers. We want to try to go somewhere that no one's ever gone before. And yeah, it's been fascinating to watch. I think this has probably happened over the history of every genre, where they're all evolving and moving forward. And you know, the last generation probably hates the next generation's music every time. But yeah, what a cool time to be alive. I mean, for me, I think back to like, you know, when FGL and Nelly did Cruise, and for me, at least in my career, that was like, oh, that was a game-changing song. Okay, wait a minute. And then like Meant to Be with FGL, with that crossover.
Rexa, yeah.
Did you Rexa? And it's like such an honor to be part of that tradition of like trying to move music in a place where it's never been. And it's, you know, it's funny, when I started out back in 2019, I would go to LA all the time, and I still do
You
that.
got like a Meek Mill hit, right?
I did, yeah. That was a hit, but I had Justin Timberlake Meek Mill song. Yeah, but I would go out there all the time. Yeah, no, that was not casual. When Justin Timberlake FaceTimed me, I was not casual. As anything but. No, I used to go out there and write all the time, and I still do go a lot, but it's cool because everyone's coming here now. Because they know that we're not scared to go to those places and bring our own influence in and create something that hasn't ever, you know, been heard like that before. So I think it's just a mindset of kind of, and maybe probably speaks to the caliber of writers we have here too. I think we're very much about the song, and not.
Why do I wear H-Bar-C apparel? It's simple. Nudie Cone, famous rodeo tailor. Manuel Cuevas, the current king of the rodeo tailors. H-Bar-C has lineage, both of them. As well, the brand has connective ties to legends of film, screen, and music, like Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, John Wayne, Elvis Presley, and John Travolta. Shabuzi, Midland, artists of the modern era wear the brand as well. Just feels like it makes sense. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure. hbarc.com.
Everywhere is like that.
That is real.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Laura?
I love that. I was kind of just thinking on, I was at my husband's baseball game, and they had music playing at the, you know, the thing, and some Def Leppard came on. And I was thinking, I was talking with these women who are just the wives of all these baseball dads, and I was like, did you know that the man who produced this work also produced Shania Twain?
Yes, Mutt
Lang, which is a really interesting through line. If you listen one to the other, you can hear it. If you listen from Shania Twain to Maroon 5, which you did later, you can hear it. He was like a background parts like genius, and the way he produces a certain way. The reason I'm bringing that up is because Shania was, people were pissed. Yeah, it's like people don't remember, but people were so mad at Shania Twain for ruining country music. Like, it's a weird thing to say out loud. Like, they were mad at Garth when Garth came out, or he's ruining country music, and then all of a sudden he's a fixture. And I don't know what that thing is that we do, where we hate you and we love you, and I mean, it's like, whatever. It's kind of an interesting thing we do, but the way Mutt Lange effectively ruined and made country music exactly what that era was, is change. That's just change. That's just willingness in the room to be like, I don't know, why don't we try it? And I feel like that's our job always, but now is, I think, the most fun ever, because if everyone's in the room. Like, I don't know how many rooms you're in lately where it's like, what do you guys want to do today? And we're not just bouncing around artist pitches, we're bouncing around genre. Like, it's like, do you want to do a K-pop song? Nah, let's do like a Teddy Swims old school thing. Or, oh no, Zayn's looking, let's do something hyper pop Zayn. The fact that I can do that in a single day is freaking fun. Like, that's crazy that I get to do all that. And so, to me, that's just more ingredients in the soup. There's no reason to be afraid of it.
Real quick, you and Jessie Murph ruined country music.
Oh yeah, we ruined it.
All the way.
She's
And I think, and right, she's not even country. That's the funny
we
thing.
still ruined it though.
Yeah, she's a girl from Alabama who's 21 years old. And she has 11 songs on her album. Let's give her for 11 songs on the album. Real quick, and she writes in flow. And I wanted to really briefly talk about that because I think that's a thing that's going to happen for a lot of young writers and still young artists who are coming to town across the board, is that hip-hop is lingua franca for the world. And the only way that people understand hip-hop is the flow. And there's so many writers, I know John's the same way, who writes in flow. Like, it's all like beats, rhymes, like cadences, and making that thing work. So real quick about that.
Yeah, Jessie Murph has really inspired me it's taught me a new way to be a good co-writer. She is a really profoundly incredible, just free-flowing thought.
Not ours with Gucci.
Just crazy. Yeah,
Gucci man.
Yeah, she's got Gucci man. She's been, a lot of people revere her in this one way, but she's just this little tiny thing, and when she's on a mic, she's just telling funny stories to herself. Everything that's coming in here is just coming out of here, and then my job is to organize it. Loose Strips was written that way, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. Now, if I had been, sticking to the way I learned how to write songs when I moved to Nashville, I would have felt like a fish out of water. I would have felt so uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what the idea is. What's the concept? What are we writing towards? Where's the hook? I don't get it. Like, if I had resisted it at all, the song I would have ruined it. But I feel like that's the fun of what the hip hop genre in general brings to co-writing, and I'm sure we're doing the same stuff, but like that flow state where a song starts on a mic, that song starts with just someone going blubbity blibbity blah, and then all of a sudden it's a something. And I do think that involves a lot of trust. Like writing the Nashville style is way more controlled, and it's probably easier to learn, if that makes sense, because there are rules, and you can be like, oh, I know the rules, now I know how to do it. This is way less of that. It's more trust and more leaning back and doing more listening, which is really interesting to me. And the older I get, the more fun all of these versions become, because I'm just hanging on less about how to write a song. I'm just writing them.
And then I want to talk about Jelly Roll's Liar real fast, because the fascinating thing about Jelly Roll is Jelly Roll was a rapper that I was into in 2010. It's a song called 10 Minute Freestyle. Look it up.
How long is that song?
It is literally almost 17 years old. It's as long as I've been writing. So the thing about it is that he's gone from that to being a country star to now he's very safely in the gospel blues.
Yeah.
And Liar is one of those songs that's literally a gospel blues song. You have a semi-religious background with it. So talk to me about, very briefly, putting that together and leaning like all the way into that instead of like staying back in those other spaces but being like, no, let's make a blues song. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it's kind of more to the thought of like, let's just write a sick song. I don't think we were thinking super a lot about genre.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of different influences in that song. And I think we were referencing like a lot of like early like Gnarls Barkley and like Bruno Mars, even like his first album. And at that point, Jelly was very much, he's still, creating an identity for himself in music. And so something he wanted to be intentional about was not just playing it safe.
Right.
And he really wanted to live outside of like the parameters of just country music. So that's something that, we had kind of in the back of our heads. And honestly, that whole song just starts with the chord progression, which is a very different chord progression for any kind of song. It's a very odd progression. So I think the progression helped us take it out of a traditional kind of sounding country song, and then helped us push it into something very different. And I'm really proud of that song. I love that song.
Absolutely. So final question. Where are we going? Because I think that Nashville has the move, and we can do whatever we want with it, and we are doing whatever we want with it. And speak to the idea that this hasn't happened in this town in 50 years. And it could stay here for 25. And there's something about that that says that, like, the world learning what makes country music great, alongside what, like, can be redefined within the genres that they like and typically listen to, I think is a powerful thing. So I want your thoughts on it very briefly.
Well, I tend to try not to have like broad predictions about the future because I don't know. And also I feel like the moment I think I know, I start clawing at things. So I feel like my favorite thing is that right now, I've said this about the difference between writing country music and pop music. I've said this a lot in interviews and such, but I'll say it again. country music, the way I learned to do it when I first got here, was like bumper bowling. It was like covering the gutters and throwing a ball, and you hit a pin or two for sure. Like if you followed the rules, you'd hit a couple pins. I think pop music and its influence on country music is like, let's throw the ball outside the bowling alley. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, let's throw it in the parking lot. Like, I don't know. Like, and I feel like that openness is just so fun. And being like creative with people who are like, actually it's funny because you sent some of these questions as like a precursor. And the one song that came to mind when you said, like, what songs are like changing your perspective of everything? And I'm sorry, my children are the only little people here, so they can handle it. Everyone aware of Ice Spice's Fart?
Legendary.
Has everyone heard it? Like literally show of hands, has anyone heard it? So half of the room has heard the song.
Ice Spice is my favorite rapper right now.
Unreal. So the song, I'm just saying this, okay? The idea that a woman made a song called Fart, so fucking cool. And so, like it's so good. And the hook is funny, look it up later, it's funny. But my point is, who, like, imagine Don Schlitz's off, thinking someday there'll be a woman who writes a song with such a title and it's a hit song. Like, that's the insanity of the era we're in, and that those are the people I want to play with. Like, Elizabeth Nichols is someone I'm crazy about writing with because she's insane. She's nuts. She wants to say crazy shit. Jessie Murph wants to say crazy shit. And I'm like, give it to me. Like, let's say all the stuff, because I don't know whether that era is going to be over in a blip. We don't know. It could go back to, Diane Warren style songs like that. We don't know what the people want.
I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. She's literally sat on this stage in the same spot you're sitting.
It's wonderful. Like, she's incredible. I'm just saying, trends change, and I tend to believe that the more insane the trend is, the better I'm going to fit in with the writing. So I'll do it all. I love rules. They're fun and everything, but I really like when people stretch my brain out and make me think crazy. You know what I mean?
Ben, what about you?
That's a great answer. I think that's like a definite answer. I would also give as a creator. I think if I take myself out of the creator boots for a second, I think if you look at what is driving people to streaming, a lot of it is social media. So I think a lot of it's going to be predicated. TikTok changed the entire music industry, and I'm curious to see what comes next. Right now it's like about grabbing people's attention so fast. 6 seconds, you gotta pull them in with an audio clip, and I think that's something that's helped us be able to say some really crazy lyrics because that helps pull people in very quickly. You know what I'm saying?
My favorite lyric of the year is Jessie Murph saying, "Fuck you, you fucking fuck you." Real talk. It's a song from 1965, and it literally that is one of the lyrics of the song. Like, it blew my mind. It changed
And it made a bunch of people angry, and then it made a bunch of people laugh, and then all of a sudden there we are. That's where we are.
Yeah, I remember listening to this interview with Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons, and they were like, "When did you know that you were going to be successful as a band?" And he said, "Well, we played People Radioactive," and he said half the people hated that song. Said we should never put it out, and half the people loved it. And he said, whenever you elicit strong reactions from people, you're onto something, because you're making people feel something, whether it's one way or the other. And so yeah, I think that's the kind of music we all want to create. We want to create stuff that makes people feel something a lot. So I don't really care what it sounds like, as long as we can make people feel something and have fun creating. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I have one last thought.
Go for it.
I love trusting the humans with this too. The humans will tell us what they want.
They're undefeated.
They are undefeated every single time. They tell us what they want, and I think the best of us will reply. That's it. We don't need to know where it's going. Just be listening. Humans are interesting, and they need music, and so make it, I love that shit.
Well, first I'd like to thank my sponsors, HRC, Vinyl Ranch. Thank you so much for your support. And this has been Ben Johnson. This has been Laura Veltz. I'm Marcus K. Dowler, and this is Culture at Large. Thank you for listening.